Hello and welcome to my review of Cyberfrog by Ethan Van Sciver. Now, back in 2019, Ethan put out a crowdfund for Cyberfrog Bloodhoney with the bonus book Diary of Heather Swain. Now, back when I first read this 4 years ago, I thought it was cool, and the main criticism of it was, there just wasn't much of a narrative to, follow. And what I mean by that is just there's a long scene of Cyberfrog's origin, then it's kind of a time jump to a little small, like 3-page scene of him meeting Heather Swain, being saved by Deathfly, and then it time jumps again a couple of years, and then you just get a sequence of Cyberfrog going to stop Rumblebee is up to no good, and then in the middle of that, the Vespis invade and to come and wreck our planet essentially, and Cyberfrog is defeated and goes into a sort of healing mode down in the bottom of the river for 20 years. Now, and then in this book, it's just kind of just like a little, I guess, at what was Heather thinking during all this and during the invasion, and sort of kind of gives her a little side of the story of these events, and has little tidbits of, Sonny Bono, like he ran into the tree because the Vespis buzzing or something. It's kind of funny. I get it. And and then rereading these and then reading the new stuff that just came out, one thing became clear to me, which is the thing I will criticize about this all of these books here, is the story that Ethan wanted to tell starts right here, with the exception of the last 2 pages of Cyberfrog waking up and seeing Lily. You start there and then go, put those pages in this book, and this should have been the first issue. This should have been where we began our adventure. And because all this stuff in these books here, although we would want to know eventually, but the problem with all of these is they're just filled with just massive time jumps, and it's just hard. Although in certain sequences the storytelling is good, but making sense of all of it altogether just doesn't quite work as well as this one here, where you just get a good cohesive narrative storyline of chain events that are happening. And then also another thing too is, since we see the evasion happening and we kind of see that small little scene of Cyberfrog and Heather Swain meeting and Cyberfrog's origin, it's not necessary, and in the mystery of saying, let's say, but the story did start here and this was the first one, Cyberfrog wakes up from the bottom of the river and he sees the world is just overrun by the Vespis, and there's just like a big mystery, like immediately, like how did the world get like this? And there's intrigue, and then that's not to say that there is no mystery in this, because there is the biggest mystery, I guess, right now is what happened to Lily's father, which we'll get to in a second when we start talking more about Rekt Planet. But talk about these for a second. These just don't cohere. There's no cohesion. It's like of the bigger picture, because of the like I said, the long time jumps between all these. Like in this one, we find out what these guys look like that I guess they made Chilson, and Cyberfrog wasn't even the first attempt, because Cyberfrog was sitting here. Well, this big robot was sent here. This like Chilson, that guy right there, or her, whatever, to prepare the Earth to have a warrior, and to be able to stop the Vespis and finally eradicating them. And but it didn't work out. He was betrayed by his own protector there, the Scorpion guy, which is unfortunate. And he steals the heart of the robot after he destroys her and just carries her away. And then in the second half of this book, you know, is after Cyberfrog has defeated Salamandroid, you know, kind of finished that particular fight, and then runs off and meets up with this guy, Scorpion, again, and he gives her the heart that he stole years ago. And also he's asked to join all the Cyberfrog's village, not village, but villains. And I guess he declines and then takes a nap for 20 years until Cyberfrog is ready to come back online. And in this book here, you just kind of see what life was like from page to page, from year to year, kind of, you know, how Heather Swain met her husband, I forget his name, and, you know, Deathfly is haunting her in some way throughout that, so there's kind of mystery there too, you know, what's going on between Heather Swain and Deathfly, and, you know, is she possessed by Deathfly? Is Deathfly her husband and she doesn't know it? You know, who knows? It's kind of a prediction, I guess. But, you know, these, like, the artwork and everything is amazing in these, but, like, as far as, like, a cohesive story, it just doesn't work quite as well as this one does. And which is, like I said, a shame that the story didn't go start here first. And then as Cyberfrog is finding out kind of the information that's in these books, we're finding, us as the audience is finding out along with him, you know. And then, you know, and then I guess doing like a concurrent storyline of maybe Salamandroids, what was going on with Salamandroid in the 20 years is kind of a good idea. And kind of the second half of this book kind of starts out, you know, kind of do the same type of thing. In the Salamandroid book, we could find out what is where we could find out kind of things that was going on in the 20 years since the Vespas invasion and until we get to this book, you know. So that is the idea, I guess, that he's kind of getting with, but or if he's gonna stick to or not, but and that way it could work too. But yeah, so now we talk about Rekt Planet, and in Rekt Planet, you know, he wakes up from the river after being defeated, and he meets all the villagers, and meets this Colin guy who's kind of being a dick to him, and meets Lily and kind of gets to know Lily and hangs out with them and gets to know him. And then there's this evil chick that's, you know, hanging with Colin, just up to no good. They want to get rid of Cyberfrog. You know, they think it's going to bring all the bad stuff, lead them to their little peaceful village that kind of away from the Vespas. And then they get attacked by this guy, and then at the same time she's always kept trying to run away to go find her father, and when this guy comes and attacks, now's her chance. But also she may be kind of possessed in a way by this girl, you know. It's kind of something nefarious going on there. And then Lily gets kidnapped by the Vespas when she runs away, and Cyberfrog tries to save her at the end, but he's defeated yet again at the end of this book. And is, you know, after a heated battle with the Vespas, and then at the end, Salamandroid here shows up. Oh god, this book is too big to get to the page, but yeah. Salamandroid shows up at the end, and then, you know, we gotta wait for more. Now, this is all good, and I'm still intrigued, although with the unfortunate thing of these books existing, and, you know, I kind of don't want to, you know, maybe read that again. I don't want to read that again ever, really. And and it's kind of unfortunate, you know, that we couldn't start here, and that's kind of the main criticism I have. Now, maybe, and then maybe the reason for starting here and starting with the origin, kind of reintroducing Cyberfrog to us, you know, maybe he was scared that, you know, he couldn't start here for some reason, and he wanted people to know who Cyberfrog was, kind of in the sense of when Nexus made the move to Dark Horse from First Comics, and he could probably get better promotion from Dark Horse than from First Comics. I don't know exactly the reasons why they jumped ship, but they put out this little Origins issue, this little one-shot. He kind of tells you about Nexus and how he came to be, and then they started a line of books. Starting from there, they could sell, maybe find new readers for the new stuff, you know, which that makes sense at the time, but unfortunately that just isn't, in my opinion. I think it's a good thing if no one knows who Cyberfrog is, and then we start here, and then just, like I said, there's the big mystery of, well, what happened, what the hell's going on, and then we learn along with Cyberfrog about what happened. We learn about Cyberfrog and his relationships. You know, it's okay to start, you know, right here. And that kind of brings me to our next example, Bone. It's kind of what Bone did. He started, Bone and his cousins, they are kicked out of their village, and I don't even remember. We don't even see Boneville is where they're from. We never even go back to Boneville. There's no origin of Bone. It starts with him getting kicked out of his village, him and his cousins, and their journey starts there. And that's where the story starts. It's kind of so if you kind of did it in the same way Bone did. Now, another thing that he did do right was kind of the dialogue in this. Although he's not really much of a writer in his 20 years as a comic book artist, except for his early stuff with Cyberfrog. But since then, he hasn't written much, and it's kind of and I'm very relieved that he didn't do what the early Image guys did, especially Tom McFarlane, is just over bloating. Like, was page 1 and it's just all dialogue. Like, what the hell is that? And then like all this just over bloated with dialogue, and Ethan did not do that, which I really appreciate. You know, it was a mistake that he probably learned from himself after growing up with those Spawn comics and those early Image comics. And as far as his process on this, he kind of has like a pseudo Dick Tracy kind of approach when he's doing these, because in the Dick Tracy Chester Gold, he would make it up as he goes along. So he would when he started a story, you know, he'd do it panel by panel, and each day he would just make up the storyline as well. He didn't have like a plot in mind, where it was going and where we're going to be, and he just sort of make it up as he went along until the story ended. And you know, Ethan's not necessarily doing that exact approach, but it's kind of similar. Is he kind of has a plot in his head, and he'll do the blue outline and then ink it, do the page, and then he'll kind of work his way from there, getting from where he wants this particular scene to go into the next. It works really well in this, but that method did not work so well in especially in this, the reintroduction. This one was okay. Didn't time jump too much. Not nearly as bad as these other three. But yeah, but besides all of that, you know, I give Cyberfrog, Bloodhoney, Cyberfrog Rekt Planet 2 thumbs up. This one thumb up. These ones are just okay. But yeah, and that's my review, and I can't wait. But that doesn't mean I can't wait to read more. I'm definitely still intrigued, but it's just unfortunate that he made the choice to do this book first instead of just starting here. It's the overall criticism. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.